everybody, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here from onlinechesslessons.net, and in this video we are going to analyze one of the games of Steel Masters 2014 between Grandmasters Wely and Karjakin, and we'll see a positional battle where white opens the game with d4. We'll see a flexible move order by black. When he plays this, he's trying to play the Nimzo Indian with bishop b4. Maybe he can try the Queen's Indian with b6. If knight c3, bishop b4, here we have the Nimzo. If knight to f3, b6, here we have the Queen's Indian. However, white plays with he3. And here we have the Catalan variation. This is trying to stop the Queen's Indian. If he goes b6 here, bishop e2, then we control the main diagonal. Therefore, he plays d5, bishop e2, bishop e7, a solid variation by black. Knight to f3. Black castles, we castle as well, and here black plays d takes c4, queen to c2, a6. We are still following theory, of course, and here the most natural move is queen takes c4, then b5, queen c2, and then bishop to b7. This is the main line where I think black has a lot of equalizing chances. I believe sooner or later he has to play something like c5 in order to free his position. So instead of queen takes c4, white tries playing a4, which is the other variation. We stop b5, and then we can try playing queen takes c4. Black plays bishop d7. I like this maneuver because if you think about it, this bishop on c8 happens to be black bad bishop. It's like a tall pawn. So bishop to d7, queen takes c4, bishop c6. Suddenly black improves the bishop, and then we can just continue with knight b d7, maybe knight b6, and we are finishing our development. Bishop f4, a5. This is probably better than knight b d7. We can play a5 and knight to a6, therefore controlling the b4 square. I like this variation too. a5, white develops with knight to c3, and here black plays knight to a6. I'm not an expert of the Catalan, although I play a lot of he3 systems as white. I think this rook a1, it was probably played before. We can see he wants to play with e4, building up a strong center. He can also try playing knight to e5, because if you think about it, bishop c6 is now a good bishop, so it's a good idea to trade this bishop off. Now bishop c6 is gone, we can try advancing with e4. And apart from rook e1, we can also consider rook d1, therefore placing the rook on the same file as the queen. So rook e1. Here Karjakin plays bishop to d5. Makes sense. The other move I would also consider here is maybe playing something like knight to e4, because if we play that, we are also stopping e4, and we are trading some pieces off. Now I look at this position, I think knight to e5 is probably strong. Knight takes, we have this nice in-between move, and then black's pawn structure is hopeless. Maybe after knight e5 he has to play something like knight to d6, although he can still try knight takes c6, followed by knight takes d8. Well, maybe bishop d5 here, which is what black played in the game, so I understand bishop d5. That bishop was powerful, although if white takes on d5, then we'll take with the pawn, therefore blockading bishop's e2 diagonal. That makes a lot of sense, and we can play c6 too. Well, of course, we defend b7 first, and then we play c6. White plays queen b3. Well, he's going back, like queen b5 was a mistake. If queen takes a5, we can probably try trapping this queen, because the a file is now open. The easiest move is bishop b4, and black wins this change. So queen c8, white plays queen b3, and then knight to b4. There's no need of playing c6 yet. We can play it later. He plays knight to d2. For instance, if he tries rook c1, placing the rook on the same file as the queen, then c6 makes a lot of sense. Queenside is kind of frozen, isn't it? I mean, not counterplay for white there, whereas black can still improve on the king side. We have the open e file. He tries knight to d2. Maybe this was a possibility too. I prefer knight e5. Of course, if Bambelli played knight d2, it's worth considering, although I feel the knight on e5 is doing better. This is just my opinion, of course. Knight b4, knight d2. When he plays knight d2, he wants to play with e4. The concept is right, because white has the bishop pair, therefore he has to open that position. The only drawback here is that after c6, e4, black is going to take, and then he has a nice square for the knight on d5. Not to mention that the d4 pawn is isolated. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and here rook takes e4, queen d7. Yeah, I was going to say, as black, we have a clear target here, which is the d4 pawn. That means if we play an endgame, black has the advantage, because d4 is isolated. On the other hand, black's pawn structure is quite solid. When you are playing against the isolated pawn, you have to trade pieces off, because you want to play an endgame. So here black keeps on trading pieces off. Rook takes e4, queen d7, defending the bishop, also attacking d4. And why not? We are also preparing a move like knight to d5 to blockade the isolated pawn. bishop to d2, knight to d5, and rook to e2. Feels like white wants to play bishop takes knight here. Although if he plays that, then well, he'll lose the bishop pair. Rook e2, simple move by black, bishop f6, and then, well, playing rook e4 again. It is possible, although white is not fighting for the advantage anymore after that. He decides to play bishop takes d5, queen takes. Now d4 is not isolated anymore. However, we can talk about the bishops here. Bishop f6 happens to be a good bishop. On the other hand, bishop d2 is what we call the tall pawn, because it's crashing into the pawn structure. So he plays rook to c1. Here white, he prefers playing an active position instead of defending. If he plays something like bishop e3, then this bishop is quite passive here. And as black, we can just fight for the c file, which is the only open file in that position. The same goes after bishop c3. The bishop is quite passive here. We can try playing on the e file, although I would try rook c8. As you can see, there's no way white enters that position, and here rook c4 is a threat. Black has the initiative here. So pawn takes rook c1, black takes the free pawn, and then bishop to f4. I'm also considering playing something like rook c7. And, well, white played something like this in the game. Maybe bishop takes b2, or b6 first, followed by bishop takes b2. Bishop f4, white defends b2, and he tries getting the pawn back by playing rook d1 or rook to d2. Therefore, black defends d5 with rook f d8. We have to protect this pawn because d5 represents black's advantage. Rook to c7, b6, natural move, and rook to e7. White is going to get an interesting counterplay on the 7th rank, and, well, looks like a brave move by black. Anyway, it's an easy decision because if we play something like rook f8, we'll have a passive position. Remember that when you have to choose, it's better to choose the active move, even if you have to sacrifice material. In this case, we are taking material, so rook takes f7. e7 is under control. So we have an extra pawn as black. As I said before, we are interested in traits. We play rook to c8. The other move I would also consider is playing something like bishop f6. Feels like we are well protected here, although we have to be careful about a deviation move like bishop e5. Now if we take, we lose.
Check.
We lose material here. He can either take here, or maybe he can check us first.
Check.
And then he plays rook e7 again, and then he takes the bishop. So it's better to get rid of those rooks as soon as possible. Of course, white, he'll not trade. And then rook c4. Active move again. We can't play d4 yet. Then he plays rook takes e7. And when he plays rook b7, he's not attacking the b6 pawn, because then we take the rook on f7. So we play rook to c4. Would be nice to get 2 passers as black. Rook to c7. Now white wants to trade pieces off, and bishop to d4. It's not a good idea to trade pieces off now, because if rook takes, he plays bishop takes, and then he's getting his pawn back. Rook d7 is not enough. Despite pinning the bishop,
check.
White has a check, and then he takes on b6. Here, black is losing all the advantage. So after rook c7, bishop d4, I like this move. We have to keep our passers together and connected. Bishop e3. Yeah, only chance for white here, in my opinion. Otherwise, we can just trade. And that's not the problem. Well, we can trade, or we can take on a4 too. But let us say we play, well, rook takes, bishop takes, we still have the same trick. I mean, white is attacking the rook and the b6 pawn, so probably the threat is rook takes a4, and then we get 2 passers. I was gonna say something like rook takes, bishop c5, and then I advance the d pawn. However, I forgot about bishop takes c7, which is probably stronger. So white plays bishop e3. Now we trade pieces off. And the resulting rook endgame is interesting. Black is up a pawn. However, having an extra pawn is not enough to win a rook endgame. I mean, sometimes, even if you have 2 extra pawns, it can still be a draw. So let us see. What matters here is rook's activity. We play d4, pawn takes, rook b7, and then key move rook to b4. If we take on a4, I think this endgame might be a draw, because this rook is going to stop the a pawn. We can place the rook on a7, and we'll have such a powerful rook as white, controlling both kingside and queenside. What black has to do here is he has to keep 2 passers on the queenside. And if we keep more pawns there, we'll have more chances of promoting. So rook b4, king e2, then black plays h5. We need to improve the king somehow. Therefore, we have to use the h-file. If we play king f8, it's unlikely we improve the king. We can't move much, because the king is overloaded defending the kingside pawns. So h5, white plays king f3, king h7, h4. Even in this position, it's not easy to win, because white's rook is quite active. So black tries king e6, rook d7. Still tricky. king f6 is what black plays. It's never too late to make a mistake. Rook takes,
check,
rook d6 check. And as we discussed before, this is probably drawish. What helps white here is his powerful king. White has an active rook plus a powerful king, so if black wants to win this, he'll have to play better, and king f6 is a good try. We are not taking on a4 yet, we can do that later.
check,
Rook d6, king f5. Now, apart from the ideas on a4, we can also consider a check on b3, and sometimes king e4 or king e4. So we are advancing as black.
check,
Rook d5, king e6, and now we are changing that position. Of course, if we play something like king f6 or king e6, then he'll just check on d6 again, and we are not making any progress. If we play king e6, then it's different, because he'll lose the a4 pawn, and he can't take the b6 pawn back. He plays rook e5, only try. If rook takes, then rook takes a4, and he can't play rook h6. Rook e5 is a better defense. He still has the chance of playing something like rook e6. But king f7, and then the tricks are over. Rook takes h5, rook takes a4, and now white has one extra pawn on the king side, but we have two on the queen side. Now it's much easier to win. It's unlikely he stops two pawns. If we had a5 only, then white has high chances of, controlling this pawn. But when we have two, there's not much he can do here. And black plays this powerful move, e5. He could have also tried a4 followed by b5, but e5 is definitely better. If he plays h5,
check,
we just play this first, and then the king comes, take h5. Looks like an easy win. There's not much white can do here, because b6 is protected, so is a5, so is e4. And if he takes, then these two pawns, they are going to fall sooner or later. King e6,
check,
rook e8 check, king h5. This looks risky, although it's not a big deal. If he plays e6, we play this, and if e7, king h7, we are still trapping this pawn. And if
check,
e4 check, king h4, yeah, king h4 is the only move, by the way. Rook takes e4, loses to
check,
rook h8, and after king takes,
check,
rook e8, and, well, we are in trouble here. Of course, right, we lose the rook, so after e4,
check,
he plays king h4, and again, he can't advance the e pawn. If e6, then the simple move, king e5, e7, king e6, and he's about to lose the pawn. Looks risky, although it's everything under control. So king h4, then he tries rook e6, and then we just keep on advancing the pawns there. He's not advancing the e pawn. Again, as we said, if e6, king e5 should be enough to win. Well, here a3 or rook b3. The concept is once he advances to e7, then king e6. And there's nothing he can do to stop the a3 pawn. Even if he plays rook a8, he's about to promote, and he wants to play rook takes a3.
Check.
But we have the in-between rook b3 check, and then we take on e7. So yeah, this is not enough. All these variations are proving rook endgames are tricky. So he plays rook e8, a3, e6. We try stopping that pawn as soon as possible.
Check.
And then the check first. Now we try stopping that pawn. Rook a8. We take it. King f5. Well, he's trying to play rook a7 and then some trick maybe with the king on the 6th rank. I don't think it's going to work. After king f5,
check.
Rook f3, we deviate that king. King e4, rook c3, king c5. Well, now we see the difference. The rook is not on b3 anymore. And here we are not repeating positions. We just
check.
Play rook c5 check. And after king to the 4th rank,
check.
Rook c4, followed by rook a4. Very nice technique by black. There's nothing white can do here to stop a2, a1. Therefore, he resigns. I really like this game. That pre-endgame, when white played bishop takes d5, was looking harmless. Although black proved it was not harmless. There was a lot of play left. And of course, this pre-endgame, and this rook endgame, it's worth studying. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this analysis, and we'll do coverage of next rounds as well. Thank you.